I've said this before, but I feel like nobody talks about Stellar Crown. It's like a lost and forgotten set. And it's very new. It was released just before Surging Sparks. And I just don't hear any Pokemon investors, any channels, just people online talking about Stellar Crown. Like, just nobody talks about it. But when you look at the data with Stellar Crown, it's like people are buying these booster boxes and these prices have gone up, but nobody is acknowledging this. I feel like people have been talking about some older Scarlet and Violet sets way more than Stellar Crown, but those booster boxes, they're older and they just moved up like to like around 120. But Stellar Crown is like a brand new set and it's done the exact same thing, but nobody is talking about this. And I've said this before. I'm not saying Stellar Crown is the best set out there in Scarlet and Violet, but I feel like Stellar Crown is better than some of these other sets that people talk about more. It's like it's very weird because people like to hype up, for example, Scarlet and Violet base recently because it's gone up to like $120 and people are saying, yeah, it's a base set. Everyone said this sucked and now it's going up. But that set is like a year and a half old now. Like you would sort of expect that to happen. I know I got a reprint, but you would sort of expect now that it's almost 2 years old that would be happening. But there's a brand new set that nobody talks about that is going up and it's the same price. It's very weird. Like that thing had a year and a half to grow. Yeah, I got a reprint, but this set is like a few months old and it's already at the same price as that one. But nobody talks about this. It's a very strange thing. And you can see the sales volume of this box was very high during the TCG player sale. Like people were buying this box, but nobody talks about Stellar Crown. And this is where I find it to be this just a very strange case of just nobody talking about it, but it's selling and it's going up in value. So you can find these on eBay for a little bit cheaper for around 110, but the market price on TCG player is 120 right now. And I've said this before, Stellar Crown, yeah, it's not the most amazing set, but it does have some stuff going for it. The top chase card is $81. It was above $100 before. It's gone down, but it's still $81. I'm going to compare it to some of the other sets that I've been talking about. This is more expensive than any card in those sets. Yeah, maybe not as, talked about, but it's still $82, which is, in Scarlet and Violet, and obviously until we had Surging Sparks, $80 is a pretty expensive, card in Scarlet and Violet. So it has this card. Yes, Terapagos is not the most popular Pokemon out there, but I mean, still I've heard people think and saying that this is a very nice card and the artwork's really nice. And just other than the Terapagos, it has two cards that are very popular from the set: the Squirtle and the Bulbasaur, because obviously they're starters, they're very popular. So it has some stuff going for it. It has $82 cards, Terapagos, whether you like it or not. I mean, it's $82, and it also has two starters where people really like these cards. And the other cards down here, they're not as popular, but people do like some of these cards. But it's mainly these top three cards that people really talk about from the set. And when you look at the value in the set, it's actually not that bad. You have an $82 card, $55 card, $48 card. You keep going down. Like there's a decent amount of cards that are over $10. It's not like a set where it only has a few cards that are over double digits and then there's everything else is super cheap. Like it has a few cards that are somewhat expensive. Now I wanted to compare this to the other sets that people have been talking about way more than Stellar Crown. It's weird, like I said. It's maybe because these were doing nothing and all of a sudden they're going up now. But these are the same price as Stellar Crown, but they're older. And Stellar Crown has performed the exact same in a shorter amount of time. But people are talking about these over Stellar Crown. I find it to be very strange. But you can see here Paradox Rift booster boxes. It was sort of the same thing here with Stellar Crown. If you look at the graphs, they're all around like 105, and then now recently they're like 120. Same thing with Stellar Crown. And when you look at Paradox Rift, it's a decent set. It has a Groudon, which is a normal just illustration rare, which is the most expensive card, $67, so it's less expensive than the Terapagos. And you can see here the second most expensive card is the Roaring Moon, which is around the same price. I think was the Squirtle. The Altaria, I think is cheaper than the Bulbasaur. And you can see here, like, it has a little bit more, cards that are above, double digits than I almost just said Terapagos, than, Stellar Crown. But if you look at the value compared to Stellar Crown, it's less valuable, like the top chase cards. And, it's not that different. But people talk about Paradox Rift more than Stellar Crown. And I think it just has to do with the Groudon, even though it is cheaper than a Terapagos. But just because it is the Groudon, that's the reason why people talk about the set. Because if you take Groudon out, like, I mean, some people talk about the Roaring Moon, but not really. Like, it's mainly the Groudon. And other than, the Roaring Moon, like, it's no one I feel like really talks about these as much because if you take away the Terapagos from Stellar Crown, it still has the Bulbasaur and Squirtle, and that's where I feel like it's very strange with Stellar Crown how it just nobody talks about it, but it's like a decent set, but just nobody is talking about it. Like people are talking about older sets that don't have as expensive cards, and they're just as expensive. Like the booster box is just as expensive. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, to show you guys this because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but literally nobody talks about Stellar Crown. And now going to Scarlet and Violet base. So I understand, people talking about Scarlet and Violet base because it hit $80 at one point because they reprinted it and it rebounded. It being a base set, people say base sets don't really perform well, and people like to use this example with Scarlet and Violet base now being $120. But you gotta imagine this set is almost 2 years old now. I mean, it being $120 isn't a crazy thing to see, especially in this sort of market. And honestly, I've said this before, Scarlet and Violet base is like the best main set we've ever seen, really, because it has SIRs. It honestly has a nice, amount of artworks, and just the cards aren't expensive, but the artworks are actually really nice. And I've said this many times before, but if you look at the prices of the cards, there's no card that's even above $50. The top chase card is $30. In the Miriam, I think it's actually, it was the most expensive card before, but it's gone down. But I think it's actually starting to go back up a little bit. But there's no expensive chase card in this set, and people are talking about this set, booster box being $120 more than Stellar Crown. But Stellar Crown has a chase card that's $80, and still nobody's talking about it. It's very strange how people talk about these sets that are older and just as expensive as Stellar Crown. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And that's why I find Stellar Crown to be maybe an interesting case where it's like it's silently moved up and no one really talks about it. It's really weird because it has a few expensive cards, but it's like nobody talks about the set really. So it's a strange case with Stellar Crown. You can still find them places for $99. I found plenty of places with Stellar Crown booster boxes for $99. It's a little bit harder to find, Scarlet and Violet base booster boxes or Paradox Rift booster boxes on eBay for around, $100. But Stellar Crown's a little bit easier that way. Like I think you can buy right now Stellar Crown booster box cases for like $610 on eBay, and that's obviously pretty much $100 per booster box. And with Scarlet and Violet base and Paradox Rift, that's not really a thing. You'll have to pay a little bit more, but yeah, I just wanted to make this video because literally nobody talks about Stellar Crown, and I feel like I needed to talk about it because everyone talks about these other sets that are older and the same price as Stellar Crown, and Stellar Crown is newer and it's gone up the same amount. It's a strange case, and that's why I want to talk about it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and you can see, maybe what I'm trying to say here, where Stellar Crown, it's like a set no one talks about, but it's going up. It's like, it's very strange. So that's the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.